This is Digital Anarchist.
Hey everybody, welcome back to TechStrong TV. I'm Charlene O'Hanlon, and I'm here now with Chetan Mathur, who is the CEO of a company called Next Pathway. Chetan, thank you so much for joining me today on TechStrong TV. Really appreciate having you here.
Great. Thank you for having me, Charlene. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
So I wonder if we can start by you telling me a little bit about your company. I'm not that familiar with you.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Next Pathway is a company that I founded about 10 years ago. I'm the founder and CEO of the company. And we've been building software that helps our clients to plan and automate their migrations from legacy enterprise data warehouses and data lake technologies like Hadoop to modern cloud platforms. And some of the platforms I'll just mention that we work very closely with are our friends at Snowflake, Microsoft Azure, AWS, and so on.
Okay, great. So you guys recently put out a survey, or you surveyed, I think it was about 1,000 or so IT decision makers on their kind of cloud migration efforts. And so wondering if we can discuss some of the results of that survey and see how maybe that kind of impacts the market, or at least gives us a window into what organizations are doing in their cloud migration efforts. So tell me give me a little bit of background, please. If you will, on the survey itself. Is this the first year that you guys have done it, and what were your what was your end result, if you will?
Sure. As early adopters of the cloud and the belief in what the cloud offered, Charlene, with respect to unlimited compute and storage and so on. We found ourselves back a few years ago struggling with the fact of our clients were still hung up on the fact that, they were in that mindset that the cloud wasn't secure, right? And that goes back probably about 3 to 5 years or so. What we decided to do is, now that we started seeing a great deal of interest in cloud migrations, we thought, let's go survey a top 1,000 Fortune 1,000 companies and ask them, where their heads are at specifically. And we gave them a list of about 25 or so questions. And we had some very interesting findings. And I'll just start with one of them, just around the security side, if you don't mind. 80% of the companies actually trust their applications now to run on the cloud over running on premise. So that was a very interesting finding and a big mind shift.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I would think, because, to your point, we've been talking about cloud security for a number of years, and it's still very much a large topic on Security Boulevard, our security site, cloud migration and cloud security. So that's a huge shift. And what do you attribute to that? Is it just the fact that we've kind of matured as an industry, or do you see other factors at play?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the cloud, the hyperscalers, as we call them, they've done a fantastic job in two ways. Obviously, in building and the robustness of the security, and getting the confidence, because they're spending literally billions of dollars, as you know, on securing their infrastructure and their environments. Certainly more money than any one enterprise would ever spend on their own security platform. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And then number two is they've been able to communicate that to the C-suite as well, through numerous activities and briefings and those type of things. So I think that's been the biggest mind shift, is the investment that they've made and how solid their communication strategy has been to the executive suite.
That's interesting. Okay, so the interviews that you conducted, were they? What was the time frame for them? I'm trying to kind of frame this in, COVID, post-COVID, pre-COVID. When is it that the conversations actually happened?
Yeah, the conversations, we conducted the survey in December of 2020, so very recent. The data is very fresh, and we wanted to do it in COVID, if you will, environment.
Mid-COVID.
Yeah, in COVID. Where we all want to be post-COVID, don't we?
Exactly.
But we wanted to get the pulse of what these folks are thinking right now, because, as you know, the pandemic, there's always silver linings and bad things. The pandemic really has accelerated, shall I say, the migration to the cloud. So some of our clients and some of the respondents were cloud ready and they were ready to go, and others were not quite there as well. So another important point that came out was nearly half of the respondents are migrating 20 plus applications this year in 2021 to the cloud. So that number was actually surprising and stood out to me as well, Charlene.
Yeah, I can imagine. So do you see a lot of these cloud migration efforts happening as a direct result of COVID-19 and that rush to, dare I say the term, digitally transform their organizations? Or is it something that has been kind of on the minds of many organizations for a long time and they just thought the time was right?
Yeah, I think it helped, honestly. I don't know the exact answer to that, but, with the way that we're planning it in our business is that we think that, migrations will continue, 5+ years out for sure before, enterprises are fully migrated to the cloud. However, I think that this pandemic has really exposed a lot of cracks, shall I say, in certain enterprises, and the need to digitize is the right word, has been, and the companies that were built for the pandemic, as they say, the Amazons and the Walmarts, as you can see how they're taking great advantage of that. So the pandemic certainly has accelerated the migration process.
Hey, I imagine for some organizations, though, just the complexity of cloud migration migrating to the cloud has held some organizations back, either in part or in whole. So is that something that came out in the survey as well? I mean, do you still see organizations that are just kind of like, no, this is just going to be too much for us to handle? Yeah. Or do you go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. Absolutely. And that was one of the reasons that we conducted the survey, Charlene, was really to find out what are some of the, top 3 or 4 reasons or hurdles, shall I say, that are preventing our customers from migrating to the cloud. And not surprisingly, approximately a third of them just said, listen, our technology, our data warehouses and our data lakes are so old, that data warehouses specifically are so old and so integral to the running of our business in the data warehouses, number one. And number two, who's consuming from the data warehouse? So, if you ask a business person, what reports you're consuming, they're going to say, I need them all. And, I run them every day. And in some cases that's true, and in other cases it's false. And so the single biggest limiting factor was just simply understanding what's inside of their data warehouses. And then with data lake technology, with Hadoop and things like that, that's about 10-year-old technology. Mm-hmm. And we know that the proverbial data lake has become a data swamp. So it's newer technology, but there's just been a vast amount of data that's been kind of put into Hadoop, and many clients now are struggling to say, hey, listen, this has gotten too big and too expensive. And so more than half of the respondents, commented about Hadoop and said, don't know what's in there, and it's gotten way too unruly and too expensive to run.
So, there's got to be some way of helping them kind of manage that data lake, or at least understand better what they do have in there. Do you think that that's maybe going to be a large undertaking for companies this year? Is just kind of understanding what they have so that they can move forward in their cloud migration efforts, or are we kind of like stuck in quicksand, if you will?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly the reason for Next Pathway. And we have a technology that we launched about 18 months ago, which is called Crawler 360. And as the name suggests, it allows our clients to make data-driven decisions on how to migrate. So let me be specific. It does 3 things. It allows our clients, first of all, to look inside data warehouses and data lakes and understand the table lineages and the table dependencies and those type of things. It also allows our customers to be able to see who's consuming from which tables. And then lastly, where that data is being loaded from. So from which mainframe systems and systems it's been loading. And so we are able to show a visual representation from end to end, from data loading, from source data to right through to consumption. And so that's been a invaluable technology and solution that our customers are just eating up, because it's giving them the purview now and saying, oh gosh, now I understand exactly what's inside of my data warehouse or data lake.
That's pretty cool. So, Real quick, when you guys are talking with your customers or with IT organizations in general, do you hear more organizations say that migrating applications to the cloud is more daunting than entire workloads, or vice versa? Or do we have kind of a healthy mix of the two? They're both daunting, and I'd much rather just go, I don't know, sit on the couch and watch a movie or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, let me try that. So we're focusing in right now specifically on BI and analytics reporting applications. So the Teradata's, Netezza's, Hadoop's of the world, and now what we're starting to see, over the last few months is folks really starting to attack the mainframe. Where there is some big complex legacy workloads that are very sophisticated, and people saying, hey, listen, I want to start to migrate off of my DB2 and my mainframe. So, first generation of entrants to the cloud, or folks that are migrating to the cloud, I think focused more on the BI and analytics reporting. And the reason's obvious, because, just from compute power, it's so inexpensive and so powerful. You really have infinitum compute. And now our clients are starting to ask about the mainframe.
All right. Cool. Well, I hope that we continue to see a healthy movement in the cloud migration space in general. I think 2021 will definitely kind of set the path, if you will, for many organizations who may not have maybe moved as quickly as they could have or should have in 2020 to the cloud. So hopefully we'll see more action happening in 2021, but in a good way overall. Not so much in that move of desperation, but it's more of a positive, this is good for my business move. So Chetan, thank you so much for your insight and for walking me through the report today. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
Great, thank you for having me again, Charlene. It was a pleasure.
Great. All right, everybody, we've got lots more TechStrong TV coming up, so please stay tuned.